What's up guys, Vulkan here, and today we're covering everything we know so far about Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. So from the top, Dark Alliance is a co-op action RPG created by Took Games and being published by Wizards of the Coast. Now it will be releasing on June 22nd for $40 on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. Plus we learned that this game will also be coming day one for Xbox Game Pass, so if you have a subscription to that, you'll have access to the game right from the get-go. And to some of you, this game might sound pretty familiar, and it should, because this is the successor to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance that released back in 2001. But instead of a top-down view, this game opted for a third-person over-the-shoulder view to highlight the action and keep players engaged with the game. Plus, the developers said they really liked the kind of point of view you have on the world and the characters. It gives them more of an imposing stature. Okay, so now that that connection has been made, what does this particular Dark Alliance bring to the table? Well, this one focuses on a band of heroes who need to stop some bad guys. Real classic, right? They're doing bad things out in the realm of Icewind Dale. Now, players can choose one of these heroes to play as in a group of 4 to take on different missions and enemy factions. We know that there will be 21 total missions in the game with 6 difficulty levels to work through on each of them. So who are these heroes that we get to play as? Well, some of you might know them. They're a famous group known as the Fellowship of the Hall. So first up, we have Dritz Duorden, a drow rogue who is all about speedy gameplay and summoning his trusty pet tiger, Gwynhavar, to dish out some damage. Now, Dritz focuses on fast strikes and mobility. He can also perform some backstab executions on vulnerable monsters. Next up is Caddy Bree, a human ranger who specializes in archery and punishing enemies with range damage and heavy attacks. Now, from the gameplay we've seen, she can also get up close and deal damage in case you're surrounded, which is good. She's not going to be one of those hunters that's like, you're too close to your target, you can't attack. So if you're someone who really enjoys kind of the archer ranger playstyle, Caddy Bree is probably going to be the one for you. And fun fact, she was actually raised by our next hero, Brunor the dwarf tank. So Brunor is all about being able to take a pounding and protect the group like any good dwarf tank. The devs describe him as being as tough as nails and a frontline and threat management expert. So if you like tanking, you like close quarters combat and having a bigger role than DPS, Brunor is about as classic of a warrior tank as there is. Now last up is Wolfgar, the barbarian who uses his huge hammer to solve most of the problems. From the gameplay and interviews we've seen so far, we know that Wolfgar uses heavy attacks that can break armor and actually leave enemies vulnerable for follow-up attacks like those backstab executions for Dritz. So you can see this whole team kind of works together to make a really cohesive unit. We have Wolfgar leaving things vulnerable for extra damage. We have Brunor taking all of the threat and basically protecting the group. We have Dritz doing his thing, dealing damage from behind enemy lines, and Caddy Bree standing all the way back from afar and just pounding enemies into the ground with a bunch of arrows. So all of this kind of put together seems like they really thought of all the different play styles for players and gave something that everybody is going to enjoy. And on top of that, all of these heroes have their own attacks, their own ultimate abilities, and their own gear to equip. But when it comes to enemies that you'll be actually fighting, we know of a few that were revealed on the Dark Alliance Twitter. First up, we have Kelvin, the ice giant, and he's featured prominently on all of the cover art that we've seen so far. He's the giant in the background with the horns kind of coming out of the helmet. And then we also have the dragon named Icewind, which is the namesake of the realm that we're in, Icewind Dale. So we'll be taking on Icewind as well. And there's a few others we don't know about quite yet, but they did say there's some really cool bosses out there. One of the things that I think we're going to be fighting is the Beholder. Reason being, part of the pre-order bonus is you can get the Beholder's item set, so that kind of was a little bit of a foreshadow, maybe a little bit of a tease. Either way, I think we'll be seeing that boss as well. So before I go any further into the actual details on the game, I did want to take a step back and take a minute to talk about some of the functions of the game. Now, I know before I mentioned the game is designed for a co-op party of 4, and that might have scared some people into thinking that this game can only be played in a party. Honestly, guys, don't worry too much about that. The developers have built in multiple ways to play for any party size. First off, if you get a group of 4 players together, awesome, you're gonna have a great time. And they're also adding in couch co-op with split screen support coming this summer. So for those of you who really like to sit on the couch with your buddies and fire up a game, this will have have split screens so you can do that. Like the good old days, you know, I miss those days every now and then. Online is great, but sometimes you just want to have like a nice LAN party and split screen and stuff. So what if you can't get a group together? Well, there are a few different ways to get into the action. So first, you can simply play the game 100% solo, progress through all 6 difficulty levels by yourself. And another thing to note here is that the game will scale to your party size, so it'll be challenging, but it's not like you're fighting 4 times the amount of enemies or trying to work through a massive health pool. Instead, you're facing levels that are scaled to a single party member. Now, unfortunately, we will not be able to recruit NPCs to help if you're playing solo. I was really hoping we'd get almost like a Guild Wars style system where you can go recruit those NPCs to come with you, but unfortunately that's not in here, so please keep that in mind. Now, if you do want to play in a group but you don't have any friends, that's where matchmaking comes in. They're going to have full matchmaking that will attempt to put together parties of players with similar levels and progression. So good stuff there. Having matchmaking is always a plus in games like this. And another thing, they're also going to support cross-generation play, not necessarily cross-play between different platforms, but generation. So PS4, PS5, Xbox S, X, the series consoles, all of that. So cool stuff there. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get back into the game and start talking about some other things we have. So because Dark Alliance is an action RPG and not just a brawler, we do have some RPG systems to take advantage of. And the first one is the level up and attribute system. So when a player gains a level, they're going to be given attribute points and achievement points that you can use to unlock passive bonuses and upgrades. But that's not the only place you can spend points. Players can also use points to unlock new techniques that you can add to attacks and make them more powerful or versatile. Then we also have hero skills, which are going to create synergy with other players to take advantage of situations and deal even more damage. So from the sound of it, each hero will be fairly customizable when it comes to their attacks and the skills that they get to choose. Now lastly, they also mentioned a gear system for characters. Each hero is going to have 12 sets of gear with unique characteristics that are unlocked when you equip pieces from the same set. Honestly, at the end of the day, this sounds like set bonuses from gear sets, which I'm always for. I love the aspect of grinding to collect sets of gear and unlocking some super powerful passives, or maybe even a new skill that wouldn't regularly be available for that particular hero. So things are looking decent when it comes to hero progression, and some level of customization is there, which is good. And I'm kind of imagining something like Warhammer Vermintide 2, except with just a little bit more depth to offer the players. So like I mentioned before, Dark Alliance is launching with 21 missions and 6 difficulties for each mission. Now, according to Eurogamer, these missions themselves are classic Dungeons & Dragons. You're going to need to defeat enemies to work your way to the boss, but also be on the lookout for traps and hidden side areas, offering puzzles, loot, and even stronger mini-bosses to defeat. Now, the whole incentive here is to get some awesome loot from these side areas that you can reveal back at camp, because after each mission, you're going to return to a hub where you can reveal, equip, and upgrade gear, since you aren't able to do that in the missions themselves. Now, this is something I am a little torn on. On one hand, not being able to do that keeps the party moving, keeps players engaged, and instead of stopping after each encounter to compare loot, they keep things moving along smoothly. On the other hand, it's super cool if you get a badass legendary drop and you're able to use it immediately. I get where they're coming from, so I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal, but I was like, ah, man, it would be really cool if I could absolutely just throw that on and make a immediate impact to that playthrough. So guys, that is it when it comes to the game. That's a high overview of what we know so far, but there is definitely going to be more to cover over the next few weeks ahead of launch. And if you're interested in pre-ordering the game, you can do so at the link in the description below, and each version of the game will give you some different stuff, including a future DLC called Echoes of the Blood War. So guys, what do you think of Dark Alliance? Does it have your interest, or are you going to be skipping this one? And before I go, I did want to say, if you're looking for any of the source material I used in this video, there are links in the description below. And I also want to remind everyone that we do have a Discord if anyone is interested in joining or wants to party up for some of the games that I've covered on the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel beyond subscribing, check out that join button below to sign up for a membership that offers some unique perks and helps push me a little bit closer to being able to create content full time. As always, thank you guys so much for the support. For real, it's awesome. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.